Have you ever looked around at your life and wondered, how did I end up here? The relationships, the patterns, the limitations, the silent weight you carry. It's easy to believe life just happens to us, that we're victims of circumstance shaped by external forces beyond our control. But what if that belief is the very illusion keeping you stuck? Carl Jung didn't speak of manifestation the way modern spiritual circles do. He didn't preach vision boards or quick-fix affirmations, but he said something far more unsettling and far more powerful. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. In other words, you are already manifesting every single day with every thought you suppress, every desire you ignore, every wound you refuse to look at. You are shaping your reality, not from your conscious wishes, but from the deep, murky waters of your unconscious mind. This is not manifestation by intention. This is manifestation by default. And that should terrify you, but it should also empower you. Because once you understand the unconscious, you begin to reclaim the steering wheel of your life. We like to believe we are in control. We build plans. We set goals. We chase achievements. But beneath the surface of our conscious mind, beneath the rational, curated, strategic part of us, is a vast, unfiltered ocean of impulses, beliefs, fears, and forgotten memories. This is the realm of the unconscious. And Jung knew this realm doesn't just influence you, it creates your world. Think of the unconscious like a hidden architect. You tell yourself you want love. But if deep inside you believe love equals pain, you'll attract pain disguised as love. You tell yourself you want abundance. But if your unconscious carries shame, guilt, or unworthiness, your external life will reflect lack, no matter how many affirmations you chant. The unconscious doesn't care what you say out loud. It manifests what you truly believe, even if you don't know what that belief is. And this is where most teachings on attraction fall short. They focus on surface-level thinking, on saying the right words, holding the right vision. But manifestation doesn't begin in the conscious mind. It begins in the depths. That's why people can do all the right things, visualize, affirm, pray, and still repeat the same heartbreaks, the same financial struggles, the same emotional loops. Because the unconscious has not been made conscious. The shadow has not been faced. The wound has not been integrated. And as long as that remains true, you are not manifesting from alignment. You are manifesting from fragmentation. Here's where it gets deeper. Most of your unconscious programming was created when you were a child, before you could filter, before you could question, before you knew what manifestation even meant. You absorbed energy. You internalized emotion. You inherited patterns. If love was inconsistent, you might associate love with fear. If abundance was always out of reach, you might associate money with guilt. If your truth was punished, you might associate authenticity with danger. And these associations sink into the unconscious, shaping not just what you think, but what you attract. You are not attracting what you want. You are attracting what you are, or rather, what your unconscious believes you are. And unless that belief changes, the external results remain the same. This is why Jung's approach to transformation is radically different. He didn't offer superficial positivity. He offered depth psychology. He invited us to look inward, to explore the roots of our psyche, to confront the hidden stories we've been living, not just personally, but collectively, generationally. Because behind every manifestation is a myth, a story we've been repeating, a script we didn't know we were reading from. And until we edit the story, we cannot change the outcome. So what does this mean for you here now? It means that manifestation is not magic. It's memory. It's the unconscious remembering a vibration, a story, an identity, and recreating it again and again until you finally stop and remember something greater. Jung didn't say to ignore the dark. He said to walk straight into it. Because inside the unconscious, inside the shadow, lies your creative power. That's what manifestation really is. Not wishful thinking, not blind optimism, but the act of becoming so integrated, so self-aware, that your inner world begins to ripple outward, transforming everything it touches. It's the alignment of all parts of you, conscious and unconscious, toward one coherent frequency. That frequency doesn't just attract, it creates, not through force, but through resonance. But here's the warning. This path is not easy, because before you manifest the life you want, you must unmanifest the one you built in survival, the life rooted in pleasing, in performance, in fear, in shame, in ancestral pain, in cultural hypnosis. That false life must fall away, and in its place, something real can rise. This is why Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming your true self. It's not about adding more. It's about removing what isn't yours. And as the false self dissolves, a new vibration emerges, a vibration of clarity, of alignment, of authenticity, of power. And that vibration, not your words, not your goals, not your Instagram, becomes a signal you send to the world. And the world always echoes back. You are already manifesting. The only question is, from where? From fear or from freedom? From wounding or from wisdom? From programming or from presence? Carl Jung didn't just teach us how to think. He taught us how to see, how to recognize that the world outside is shaped by the one within. And once you see, you can never unsee. This is the beginning of remembrance, of power, of conscious creation. The unconscious is not your enemy. It is your blueprint, your signal, your portal, and now you begin to reclaim it. What if the universe wasn't ignoring you? What if it was listening, but not to your words, not to your affirmations, not to your polished thoughts, not even to your desperate prayers, but instead to something far more powerful and far more hidden, your unconscious? Most people believe they attract with their minds, that if they think positively, visualize enough, or say the right mantras, reality will respond. But Jung revealed something deeper, something more uncomfortable and far more honest. The unconscious is the real psychic reality. In its depths are the roots of consciousness itself. This means a true engine of attraction, the force that shapes your life, is not your surface thoughts. It's the hidden beliefs that live beneath them, the unresolved emotions, the forgotten wounds, the ancestral imprints, the secret stories you didn't even know were shaping your existence. In Jung's framework, the unconscious is not just a storage unit for dreams and trauma. It's a living, dynamic system, the unseen half of the self. It holds your shadow, your instincts, your symbols, your fears, your deepest desires, and your unspoken truths. And here's the paradox. Even if you've never looked into your unconscious, it's been looking into you all along. We like to imagine we're in control, that our conscious mind is the ruler of our lives. But that's not how the psyche works. Jung saw the conscious mind, the ego, as only a tiny light flickering in a vast cave of unconscious material. That cave holds everything you rejected, everything you were told was too much or not enough, everything that was punished, ignored, or misunderstood, and all of it continues to live inside you, undigested, unhealed, unspoken. Now, here's where it gets mystical. Your unconscious doesn't just affect your moods. It projects your reality. This is not metaphor. It's psychological gravity. Just like the moon shapes the tides, your unconscious shapes the flow of your life. It colors your perception. It distorts your relationships. It filters your opportunities. And yes, it magnetizes your reality. Jung wrote, "The psychological rule says that when an inner situation is not made conscious, it appears outside as fate." What he's saying is radical. What you suppress internally, you encounter externally. You keep meeting partners who abandon you, not because you're cursed, but because abandonment lives unresolved in your unconscious. You keep attracting scarcity, not because you're unworthy, but because your unconscious still associates money with shame, fear, or guilt. You say you want love, success, purpose, but what does your unconscious say? That's what the universe listens to. Jung called the psychic projection, the phenomenon where we cast internal material outward. It's not magic. It's not superstition. It's how the psyche works. You don't just see the world. You project onto it. And until you become aware of the contents of your unconscious, you'll keep living in a movie you didn't know you were directing. The roles repeat. The stories replay. And the pattern whispers this again, not because you're being punished, but because the soul will keep bringing you the same lesson until you learn it. This is where the modern manifestation movement often falls short. It tells people to change their thoughts. But Jung would ask, which part of you is thinking? The conscious ego or the deeper self? Changing your thoughts on the surface doesn't shift your energetic blueprint. True transformation happens in the roots, in the unconscious. This is why shadow work is so essential, because whatever is unconscious becomes your default vibration. And the universe doesn't reward your persona. It responds to your core alignment. You can't fake attraction. You can't perform wholeness. You either vibrate from truth or you attract from distortion. And the difference is invisible until it becomes undeniable. You know the signs. Manifestations that don't last. Goals that feel hollow once achieved. Repeating dynamics that make no logical sense. Feeling like you're stuck in someone else's story. Deep longing for something you can't quite name. These aren't failures. They're signals. They're evidence that your conscious desires are being overridden by unconscious programming. And if you're willing to go deeper, beneath the positivity, beneath the rituals, beneath the persona, you can begin to shift the very source of your reality. So how do you start? You begin by honoring what's actually inside you, not what you want to feel, not what you think you should believe, but what's real. That includes your fear, your jealousy, your rage, your shame, your grief, your doubt. These are not low vibes. They are unintegrated signals. And when you suppress them, they become poison. But when you face them, they become power. This is the paradox Jung revealed. The unconscious is terrifying because it holds a truth, but it's also liberating for the exact same reason. Because when you finally see your real self, wounded, raw, incomplete, you stop manifesting from lack and begin manifesting from honesty. And honesty, when embodied, becomes frequency. You see, the universe doesn't want your performance. It wants your resonance. When your conscious desires and unconscious beliefs are aligned, that is when manifestation becomes natural, not because you're trying to force reality, but because you become so true, so integrated, so vibrationally coherent that reality is just around you. That is not magic. That is the self awakened. That is individuation in motion. And that is the kind of power no external method can give you, because it was always yours. You were born with it, and now it's time to reclaim it. If you're seeing how deep this really goes, give this video a like. It helps this message reach those still stuck in surface-level manifestation. And subscribe to Carl Jung Depths for more shadow-based, soul-aligned content on Jungian transformation. Whatever you reject within yourself, you'll eventually meet in others, in relationships, and in the life you think is random. Carl Jung didn't just speak of the unconscious as a storage place of forgotten dreams or emotional residue. He gave it shape. He gave it teeth. He gave it a name that still unsettles people today. The shadow. The shadow is everything in you that has been disowned. Everything that didn't fit the image. Everything that was inconvenient, uncomfortable, undesirable. Everything you believed you had to hide to be accepted. And yet, it never left. It just went underground. The shadow, Jung wrote, is the thing a person has no wish to be. But the truth is, the shadow is still you. And here's the radical part. You're not just shaped by your shadow, you attract from it. Let's break this down. You say you want a calm, healthy relationship, but you keep attracting chaos. You say you want stability, but you unconsciously seek emotional intensity. You say you want to be seen, but you sabotage anything that gets too close. Why? Because your shadow is running the show and you don't even know it. See, manifestation is not about conscious desire. It's about energetic availability. And what you disown becomes your frequency. When you exile a part of yourself, it doesn't die. It festers. It grows in the dark. And then it reflects itself into your external life in forms that feel like coincidence, bad luck, or just your type. But it's not fate. It's feedback. Let's say you repressed your anger growing up. You were taught that it was dangerous, unlovable, unspiritual. So you buried it. Now, you manifest people who explode with anger because your shadow is showing itself in the mirror of relationship. Or you manifest people who never express anything because your shadow is silence and now it's being reflected back to you. Or you become passive-aggressive, cold, or rigid because that repressed energy has to go somewhere. You're not attracting opposites. You're attracting your exiled self. That's the role of the shadow in manifestation. It doesn't just sabotage your goals. It projects your unhealed energy into your world and then waits for you to recognize yourself in what you've attracted. But this doesn't stop at personality. It reaches your finances, your health, your opportunities, your self-image. If you secretly believe you're unworthy of ease, you will subconsciously reject any flow that comes your way. If you secretly associate success with betrayal or guilt, you will unconsciously destroy every opportunity before it matures. If you haven't made peace with being seen, you'll attract invisibility. It's not a punishment. It's an invitation. Everything that irritates us about others, Jung said, can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Everything you resist in others is a portal. Everything you fear in yourself is a magnet. Everything you suppress is being manifested. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you refuse to integrate. Here's where it gets mystical. The universe is not ignoring your desires. It's responding to the totality of your being, and that includes the parts you pretend don't exist. Your affirmations say, I'm worthy, but your shadow says, I am broken. Your vision board says, I want intimacy, but your shadow says, I don't trust anyone. Your conscious mind says, I want expansion, but your unconscious fear says, expansion means exposure, and exposure means pain. So you repel what you seek. You sabotage what you crave. You unconsciously create exactly what your conscious self is trying to avoid. That's the shadow's power. It doesn't care what you say. It listens to what you believe underneath. And if you don't face it, you'll keep living its story as if it were your own. So what do? You don't fight the shadow. You turn toward it. You make it conscious. You sit with it. You give it a voice, not to indulge it, but to understand it. Jung believed that the shadow must be accepted as a part of the self, not repressed, not feared, not demonized, but invited into awareness with humility, curiosity, and the courage to face what you'd rather avoid. And in doing that, something incredible begins to happen. You stop attracting lessons through pain. You stop recreating the same emotional chaos. You stop magnetizing people who reflect your rejection of self. You start manifesting from wholeness, not fragmentation. Because when the shadow is integrated, it becomes power. Your denied anger becomes boundary. Your rejected sadness becomes empathy. Your disowned desire becomes direction. Your hidden fear becomes fuel. And now your vibration shifts, not because you're forcing positivity, but because you are no longer divided. You are aligned. This is the difference between surface-level attraction and Jungian manifestation. One is cosmetic. The other is cellular. One manipulates reality. The other rebuilds you from the inside out. So ask yourself, what part of me have I been avoiding? What fear am I projecting into the world? What pattern keeps repeating? And what truth does it hold? What would happen if I stopped hiding from myself? These aren't easy questions, but they are sacred. Because the shadow doesn't show you what's wrong with you. It shows you what's been waiting to be loved back into the light. And when you do that, the energy you carry changes. The patterns you attract dissolve. The manifestations you call in finally feel safe to arrive. If this helped you see your patterns more clearly, give the video a like. It helps this message reach others still trapped in surface-level manifestation. And subscribe to Carl Jung Depths if you're ready to stop pretending and start becoming whole. The universe does not speak English. It does not understand your lists, your goals, your spreadsheets. It doesn't care if you say, I want money, I want love, or I want purpose. It speaks one language, the language of symbols. And no one understood this better than Carl Jung. Jung wasn't just a psychologist. He was a mystic cartographer, mapping the soul's language beyond words, beyond time. To him, symbols were the soul's native tongue, and archetypes were his alphabet. So what are archetypes? They are primordial patterns, ancient, universal forces that live in every human psyche. The mother, the hero, the child, the shadow, the sage, the trickster, the lover, the destroyer. You don't create these patterns. You inherit them. They are older than you, older than history, older than language. They are psychic blueprints that live in the collective unconscious, and they shape how you dream, how you relate, how you suffer, and yes, how you manifest. Because when you attract something into your life, a person, a path, a crisis, a miracle, you are not just calling it an event. You are activating a story, an archetypal drama, and you are playing a role. Here's what most people miss. You're not just manifesting stuff. You're manifesting narratives. You are becoming a hero seeking transformation, or the victim reliving betrayal, or the orphan searching for belonging, or the magician discovering power, or the lover chasing union, or the warrior facing trials. And everything that comes into your life mirrors the archetype you've unconsciously activated. Your job, Jung said, is not to escape the story, but to become conscious of it. Because if you don't, you'll confuse your life circumstances with chaos, when really they are rituals, designed to awaken something deeper. That breakup you didn't see coming, it wasn't just heartbreak. It was the initiation of the lover, calling you to reclaim your worth from someone else's hands. That job loss, it wasn't just failure. It was a death of the false self, a rite of passage into something more aligned. That strange coincidence that changed everything, it was synchronicity, the psyche and cosmos dancing in perfect rhythm, waiting for you to notice. This is where the mystical and psychological meet, because manifestation is not just mental, it is mythic. Jung knew that when you unlock the archetype behind your experience, you stop feeling like a victim and start awakening as a participant in something sacred. This is the secret, most modern law of attraction. Teachings ignore. They focus on the what. What do you want to attract? But Jung teaches you focus on who. Who is attracting this? Which archetype is living in you? Which symbol are you embodying? Which myth is your soul trying to live out? Because if you want to change your life, you must first change your inner script. And you do that by reconnecting to the language of symbols. Your dreams are not nonsense. They are communications from the unconscious, rich in symbols that reflect what is really happening beneath your surface. The snake, the river, the broken mirror, the child you keep losing, the stranger who whispers something you forgot. These are not dreams. These are messages. The unconscious is trying to show you what you're afraid to admit, to prepare you, to reveal what you truly want, to show you where your soul is headed. Jung said, the dream is a small hidden door in the deepest and most intimate sanctum of the soul. Your life is full of symbols, but most people are too distracted to see them. This is where manifestation becomes sacred. When you stop trying to manipulate reality with thoughts and start aligning yourself with archetypal power. You don't just wish for abundance. You embody the creator archetype. You become the force that gives life. You don't just ask for love. You inhabit the lover archetype, radiating devotion, openness, magnetism. You don't just seek healing. You awaken the sage or the healer within you, restoring the broken pieces of yourself. The goal is not to get more. It's to become more. That's what Jung meant by individuation, the process of becoming whole by integrating all your fragmented selves. And when you do that, you no longer need to manifest, because you become so symbolically aligned that the right people, paths, and possibilities begin to appear organically. They are drawn not to your words, but to your essence. This is the alchemy Jung pointed to. Turn your scattered stories into one coherent self. Turn your suffering into symbols. Turn your unconscious into awareness. Because once you do, manifestation isn't forced. It's magnetic. You're not begging the universe anymore. You become the kind of person who is the universe, conscious, aware, and in mythic alignment with what wants to emerge. And that's the bridge Jung built, between psyche and cosmos, between symbol and substance, between spirit and matter. You're not just a person with goals. You're a living archetype. And the more you remember that, the more life responds. What archetype are you currently living out? Drop a comment below. Let's name the myth we're moving through. And if this message stirred something deeper, tap like and subscribe to Carl Jung Depths. There's so much more waiting to be remembered. There comes a moment in your journey, if you're paying attention, when reality begins to feel deliberate. A thought you had yesterday shows up in someone else's words today. A stranger finishes your sentence. A book falls off a shelf with exactly the message you needed. You wake up with a dream, and that very symbol greets you on the street. Coincidence? That's what most would say. But Carl Jung offered a different lens, one that dissolves randomness and opens the soul to its own divine reflection. He called it synchronicity, the meaningful coincidence of inner and outer events that cannot be explained by cause and effect, yet are deeply, undeniably connected. Synchronicity is an ever-present reality for those who have eyes to see. Carl Jung, this was not metaphor. It was metaphysics, a bridge between psyche and cosmos, a whisper that the universe does not move blindly, but in rhythm with your inner state. In a rational world, we're taught that events are only connected if they follow a chain of cause and effect. A leads to B leads to C. Everything is linear, logical, measurable. But what happens when your dream shows you something that comes true days later? What happens when two people in different places speak the same words at the same time without knowing why? These are not accidents. They are oracles. And the oracle is not outside you, it's inside. Jung realized that the unconscious is not locked inside your mind like a vault. It is interwoven with the fabric of reality. It responds to patterns. It echoes your transformation in the world around you. Synchronicity is the moment when life winks at you, not to confuse you, but to confirm you. It's the universe saying, yes, you're aligned. Keep going. You're thinking about someone and they call. You write about a symbol in your journal, and that symbol appears on a billboard. You're meditating on a question, and the answer shows up in a random podcast. Jung believed these events are not accidental. They are meaningful coincidences, activated by your internal psychic state. The deeper you go within, the more the outside world starts mirroring your awakening. This is manifestation in its purest form, not through willpower, but through resonance. You are not begging the universe for signs. You are the sign, and the world responds. But why do some people experience synchronicity all the time and others never see it? Because synchronicity isn't just about magic. It's about readiness. When you're asleep in your own life, living through ego, routine, and noise, the signs are still there. You just don't notice them. But when you begin the work, when you turn inward, when you bring the unconscious to light, you tune your soul like an instrument, and the world becomes an orchestra. It starts speaking to you, guiding you, aligning with you. Synchronicity doesn't create meaning. It reveals that meaning is already there, waiting for your attention. The unconscious is not just a hidden part of the mind. It is a field of intelligence, connecting you to every story, symbol, fear, hope, and archetype that ever existed. And when your unconscious shifts, the world shifts with it. This is why real manifestation begins with inner work. Because as you heal your trauma, integrate your shadow, and embody your archetype, you start vibrating differently. And what vibrates within attracts what vibrates without. But not always through logic. Sometimes through whispers, through dreams, through synchronicity. Synchronicity isn't just delightful, it's directional. It's a compass. When something strange, beautiful, and precise happens, stop. Ask yourself, why did I notice this? What was I just thinking or feeling? What inner truth does this outer event reflect? Because synchronicity is the universe's way of highlighting the conversation you're already having with your soul. And when you listen, really listen, you begin to walk not just in space, but in meaning. You stop chasing answers. You start living in alignment. You're journaling about finding your voice. And that afternoon, a street artist sings a song about courage and looks straight at you. You're wrestling with a choice. And you see 3 birds take off at once, fly in different directions before circling back together. You're grieving, and a child you don't know walks up, touches your hand, and smiles as if they know something you've forgotten. You could call these moments poetic. You could call them random. But Jung would call them holy. These moments are not proofs. They are invitations to slow down, to pay attention, to believe that life is not random. It's responsive. Synchronicity teaches you that you are not alone, that your unconscious is not a prison. It's a portal, that the universe is not indifferent. It's interactive. It's not about superstition. It's about sensitivity. The more you awaken, the more you notice. And the more you notice, the more you awaken. Interestingly, Jung collaborated with physicist Wolfgang Pauli, one of the pioneers of quantum mechanics. Together, they explored how mind and matter might be two aspects of the same deeper reality. Jung proposed that psyche and matter are not separate, but entangled, like two sides of one coin. Synchronicity, then, is not magic. It's alignment, a convergence of two realities, the one inside you and the one you walk through every day. When they meet, time bends, logic dissolves, and you are seen. You are not a stranger in this world. You are a thread in the fabric, a note in the song, a pulse in the greater heartbeat. Every synchronicity is a wink from the self, the higher intelligence inside you, reminding you that nothing is random. You're not late. You're not lost. You are being guided by a language older than words. And the more you trust it, the clearer it becomes. Have you ever experienced a moment so precise, so meaningful, it felt impossible to explain? Drop in the comments. We're collecting synchronicities here. Tap like if you believe the universe is conscious. And subscribe to Carl Jung Depths, where psychology meets soul and your journey begins inward. We are taught to manifest by wanting, by naming, by declaring. I want this. I choose that. I desire this outcome. It's a language of ego, hungry, ambitious, controlling. But Carl Jung offered a deeper truth, one that turns the entire culture of manifestation upside down. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. Jung didn't teach you how to get what you want. He taught you how to become who you are. And in that becoming, life no longer needs to be forced. It flows. Because true manifestation, the kind that doesn't come from desperation, happens not from the ego, but from the self. The ego is loud. It chases. It manipulates. It measures its worth by outcomes. But the self, the core of your being, doesn't beg. It doesn't rush. It doesn't grasp. The self is whole already. It knows who you are meant to become. It sees beyond your temporary cravings. And while your ego might want a perfect partner, the dream house, the seven-figure brand, the self wants only one thing: wholeness. If something you desire is blocking that wholeness, the self will not allow it. It will create friction, delay, collapse. It will protect you from your own misalignment. Because the self doesn't work on your timeline. It works on your transformation. Here's a hard truth. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you're ready for. The universe doesn't respond to the surface of your desire. It responds to the depth of your energy. If you say you want love, but carry abandonment deep inside, you'll attract people who mirror that wound. If you say you want wealth, but believe you're unworthy of freedom, you'll sabotage abundance the moment it arrives. The self sees through your words. It listens to your essence. And when your inner world is in conflict, it will delay your desires until you're in integrity with them. This isn't punishment. It's alignment. You don't receive what flatters your ego. You receive what grows your soul, not by shouting louder, not by scripting affirmations you don't believe. You begin by turning inward, by recognizing all the pieces of you that are still split, the child still afraid, the critic still screaming, the shadow still hungry, and you begin the sacred work of reunion. You bring love where there was shame. You bring truth where there was silence. You bring light where you once buried your wounds. This is not aesthetic work. It's spiritual surgery. And slowly, as you integrate your exiled parts, you become whole. And from that wholeness, manifestation stops being a chase. It becomes an echo, the world responding to your healed frequency. He understood that when you move from ego to self, you shift your entire energy field. People feel it. Opportunities appear. Things fall away, not because you lost them, but because you outgrew them. This is the true law of attraction. You don't pull things toward you through force. You invite them through resonance. And resonance can't be faked. It can only be embodied. You become magnetic not when you try to be, but when you are so deeply aligned, so fully rooted in yourself, that the right people, paths, and moments find you without effort, not because you force them, but because you remembered who you are. Ironically, the moment you truly manifest what matters is the moment you no longer need it, because you're not empty anymore. You return to your own center. You've reconnected to your own source. You've made peace with the chaos inside. And in that state, life flows toward you, not because you're chasing it, but because you've become space for it. You let go, not out of apathy, but out of trust. You stop grasping, and you start receiving. You don't need another vision board. You need a deeper vision of yourself. You don't need to manipulate the universe. You need to merge with it through alignment, not control, because the self doesn't manifest from fantasy. It manifests from truth, and the truth is, you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are being sculpted. Every delay, every detour, every heartbreak, it was never rejection. It was redirection to a version of you that could finally hold what you've always wanted. Not just touch it, hold it, keep it, be it. And that's what Jung meant when he said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Imagine the ocean, calm, still infinite, not begging the rivers to come to it, but receiving them all because it is whole. This is the self. This is your true power, not in the grasping, but in the grounding, not in asking, but in becoming. And the moment you return to that stillness within, the world rushes in to meet you. If you've been manifesting from fear, doubt, or ego, let this be your turning point. Tap like if you're ready to manifest from truth. And subscribe to Carl Jung Depths for more content that feeds the soul, not just the mind. Your next chapter doesn't need control. It needs courage, and the self is waiting. There is a sacred turning point in the journey of individuation, a moment when you stop asking, how do I get what I want? And instead whisper, who must I become so that what is meant for me can find me? This is a threshold between the life your ego imagined and the life yourself is ready to create. Because true manifestation, the kind that liberates rather than entangles, does not begin with a vision board. It begins with vision, not of things, but of your essence. The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Carl Jung, and yet that is the key, not wishing harder, not chasing louder, but becoming so rooted in the truth of who you are, that reality itself must rearrange to reflect you. Jung never spoke in slogans. He did not promise shortcuts to success or formulas for fortune, but in his quiet, brilliant way, he taught something more powerful, that the unconscious is not just a repository of wounds. It is a womb of creation. It stores your archetypes. It holds your soul's language. It shapes your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and ultimately your reality. You are not a spectator in this life. You are the projector. The patterns you see in your relationships, the chaos you keep repeating, the longing you can't seem to fulfill, all of it is not evidence that life is against you. It's evidence that you are creating from a place you have not yet made conscious. And the moment you see this, you reclaim the brush. You are the artist. You are the architect. You are the field. True manifestation is not about obsessing over thoughts or pretending to be happy all the time. It's about alignment between your conscious intent and your unconscious truth. Because if you consciously want love, but unconsciously fear intimacy, you will attract relationships that dance around connection but never touch it. If you want wealth, but feel guilt around having more than others, you will sabotage abundance before it can stabilize. So the work is not to suppress the unconscious. It's to meet it, to listen, to integrate, to become internally coherent. And in that state, your outer life begins to match your inner wholeness, not by force, but by design. Jung's genius was in understanding that the psyche is not isolated from the world. The world is your psyche, reflected. Every person who triggers you, every failure that humbles you, every joy that awakens you, they are mirrors, crafted not by fate, but by frequency. This is the hidden architecture of attraction. What you hold within becomes your curriculum, your path, your echo. When you repress your fear, life brings you situations to face it. When you awaken your worth, life brings you people who finally see it. This is not punishment. It's programming. You are writing the code, even if you don't know it. And the more conscious you become, the more elegant that code becomes. To say, I am the creator of my reality, is not self-help fluff. It is radical responsibility. It means you stop blaming your past. You stop waiting for others to fix you. You stop hoping the world will give you what you're unwilling to become. Responsibility doesn't mean guilt. It means power. It means you choose each day to become a steward of your own unconscious, to parent your inner child, to honor your shadow, to sit with your fear, not to destroy it, but to understand it. And from that place, you manifest not as a beggar, but as a sovereign. You don't just ask the universe for more. You become someone who can hold more. And that changes everything. Jung's entire philosophy was about becoming whole, not just happy. The process of individuation is the process of becoming yourself, not the self society gave you, not the self your wounds created, but the self beneath it all. And as you walk this path, you shed masks, you heal projections, you reclaim exiled aspects of your soul. And as you do, your outer world transforms. Because the world is not something out there to conquer. It is a sacred canvas that responds to your inner evolution. The more whole you become, the more whole your reality becomes. This is true manifestation, not attracting things, but attracting yourself back to your center. And so, after all the vision boards are burned, after all the affirmations fade, after all the desires lose their shine, you are left with something deeper. Truth, not the truth of what you want, but the truth of what you are. And when you live from that truth, you stop chasing. You start creating, not with strain, but with stillness, not with urgency, but with presence, not from fear of what might not come, but from faith in what you already carry. You don't become a magician. You become a mirror, and life reflects back everything you've dared to become. Close your eyes. Imagine a life where you don't have to push, because you are pulled by meaning, where each moment feels aligned, where your desires don't scream, they sing, where your soul doesn't beg, it simply resonates. This is not a fantasy. This is not a trick. This is the truth you were always meant to live. You are not here to get what you want. You are here to remember who you are, and when you do, you attract everything that was waiting for your return. If you feel this, if something in your soul just remembered, tap like so others can find this message. Subscribe to Carl Jung Depths for more journeys into the unconscious, the shadow, the self, and the light beyond all of it. And drop a comment. What are you calling in? What truth are you becoming? Your words matter, because this is not just a channel. It's a collective awakening.